Hey everybody, Patty Ann here. You know my friend Levan, who I've mentioned over the years if you've been following me, that gets me all my crazy mugs, but by the way, she didn't get me this one. Hopefully you've seen how I do this one if you did sublimation. It's really cool because it has all the characters that we used to watch, the cartoon characters, and I merge them all together and I show how to do it in silhouette. I'm going to show you something else how to do in silhouette today. You do not even have to have a cutting machine for this. You didn't need one for this either, really. But what this is Levan's mom is turning 90 today. She's going to have a party. Levan wanted me to make a sheet of paper onto which people could sign their names that she could later frame. So I made this 11 by 17. It's on cardstock. I have a printer that prints larger like this. So I'm going to show you how to do this. You don't need a cutting machine, but Silhouette software is fabulous for creating things like this or even like this. So let's get started. Okay, first I want to show you where I got the pretty picture that I'm using. If you look over here, you can see it. I got it from Creative Fabrica. Here's a little tiny commercial right here. If you don't have Creative Fabrica, use my link down below. You can get Creative Fabrica for 1 full month for $1. Delete it or unsubscribe anytime you want to. And then for the whole month, you can grab as many things as you want. Fonts, images, SVGs, everything. Download it to your computer. It's yours to keep forever. It's not like Cricut Design Space where once you quit, you lose all that stuff. With Creative Fabrica, once you download it to your computer, you keep it forever. So anyway, this came from Creative Fabrica. Isn't it beautiful? And so all I simply did was download it. After I downloaded it, I had to extract it. And then it's ready to be used however I'd like. Okay, you may not need to make a sign like this, but every time you practice something, you learn a little bit more and it sticks in here a little bit more. Kind of like this cartoon, if you look at right here, I feel like this often. So that's why I like to redo or relearn things or revisit things often, because that helps me to remember. Okay, back to Silhouette. Right now I am using the free version of the Silhouette software. You don't need a machine to use this, like I said. So let's get started. I'm going to come over here to the page setup. I do use a portrait machine, but I'm not going to use it today. So for my machine, I'm going to change this to none. For my cutting mat, I'm going to change it to none. And for my media size, I'm going to change it. I could say letter, which is 8.5 by 11, because that's what most of you have for your printers. So you could change it to that if you wanted to. But I'm going to print mine on larger piece of cardstock. So I'm going to change media size, click on this, and I'm going to say custom, and I'm going to say 11 inches wide by 17 inches tall. Automatically came in like that because that's the last size, custom size I used. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to simply merge in the image. So remember, I got it from Creative Fabrica. I already downloaded it and I already extracted it. So now I'm going to say File and Merge. And here it is right here. I'm going to merge the pencil flowers, it's called. Okay, it comes in rather large. So I don't want it to be that big. So what I can start to do is to shrink it down by using one of these corner tabs. You need to make sure that you use the corner boxes to resize things. Otherwise, it'll get skewed or it'll be too skinny. And watch. If I use this, watch what happens to the flowers. Let's zoom in a little bit so you can see. And if I do this, watch the flowers. Okay, see how they get kind of weird looking? So that's not at all what I want. So what I want to do is I want to change the width of this using the corner box right here. Okay, like that. And I'm going to put it over on top of my sheet so I can see. Got a little bit of a drag with my machine today, probably because I'm recording as well. But I actually did that pretty good. Now I am going to leave a little space at the top and a little space on the sides because I know Levan wants to frame this for her mom. So this sheet is 11 by 17. So I'm going to make it a little bit smaller than that. So the next thing I'm going to do is I want to make sure it's centered. I'm going to come over here, up here, and center it, and that centered it right in the middle. All right, now the problem is I want to have, whoopsie, too far out. One thing at the top and the other bit down at the bottom. But if I try to move this by itself, it moves everything. So let me undo. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to duplicate this thing first. I can right click on it and say duplicate, and that automatically made a duplicate of it, because I'm going to need that in a second. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little box over here where the shapes are on the left hand side, click on that, and then just draw the box over top of this so it's all covered up. Once I've done that, I'm going to hold down my shift key so the box is selected. If I hold down my shift key at the same time, I'll get the design in the back. Can you see how there's a box around the design, and then there's a box around the outer edge of the bluish box? So now what I need to do is come over here to the right hand side to the modify panel, and I'm going to say crop. And what that did was it cropped this bottom part right out of there. Now while this is still selected, before I try to move anything, I'm going to right click and say group. If I don't do that, let me undo, and I come here, I can pick up this apart a little bit, and I don't want to be able to do that. So let's go back to the way it was. Here it is. I'm going to right click and say group. Now I need to do the same thing with this bottom piece. So again, I'm going to get a box over here on the left hand side, and I'm going to draw a box around this bottom part that I want. Then I'll select that. I could actually just go like this and draw a box around everything. That selects everything as well. So I could either do this with this selected, hold down my shift key and select this, or draw a box around both. Then I'm going to come over here to the modify panel again and say crop. So that's going to leave me with this bottom bit. With everything still selected, I can right click and say group. And now I can bring that down to the bottom like this. So I want to make sure that they're both lined up in the center. So I click on this, and I'll come up here to this tool and say center. And did you see that move over a little bit? I'll do the same with this in case it needs to be moved. Whoopsie daisy. Click on this and center. Okay. All right. The next thing that I did was I put lines on this. But I'm thinking maybe before that I do that, I'll put the text that I put right up in here. So I came over to the text tool, and I just clicked, and I said, I made it all in caps. Happy birthday, Joanne. Notice it went on two different lines. I don't want it to do that, so I just take this little bar right here, and I can stretch it out so it's all on one line. Okay, it's too large. Can make it smaller to have it fit right in here. And that's exactly what I did. I could have put 90th birthday if I wanted to, but I just decided to do this. I also could change the font if you don't like this font. Click on it to select it, then come over here to the right hand side to the text style panel, and you can change it to anything you want. Just go through these. Maybe you'll see something else that you like better. Okay, some of them are going to look really weird because I did all caps. Like allure, this could be a lot prettier if I hadn't done all capital letters. But I'm not going to mess with that right now. I'll just leave it the way it was. Actually, I'll just go back using the undo arrow till I'm back to where I was originally. There we go. So I'll leave it like that. Now what I can do is I can click on all of these things, drag a box around all of it, and right click and say group. So that makes it so everything is one group and I can't mess up the spacing or the centering. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here. I want to make lines. Levan wanted me to make lines for people to write their names on. So I'll just come over here to the line tool and hold down my shift key so my line is nice and straight and draw a line across. Like that. And if I want to, I could go up here and center that line. Okay. Now, what I think I'll do is I'll use my arrows on my keyboard and move it up just a little bit. Then I'm going to, with that selected, come over to the replicate panel. Looks like a flying cigar to me. And I'm going to make rows and columns. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to come over here to this button right here that says Advanced Replicate. And I'm going to replicate it 11 times. And I'm going to replicate it down and say replicate. So that made a whole bunch of them in here that you really can't see. I'm going to drag this final one down to here. And also make sure that it's centered. Then with that one selected, I'm going to come up here. Actually, I'll just grab all of these things. And I'm going to come up here to this place. And I'm going to click on this one that's going to space everything vertically. And look at that. Perfectly spaced lines. Love it. Now I am going to move them up just a tiny little bit. Okay. All right. So that made 11 lines. They're really big lines, though. You probably don't need that big of a line to write your name that you were a visitor. So what I decided to do is I'm going to grab all these and right click and group. Then I'm going to come over to the box again and I'm going to drag a box right here so there's a space in between. And I'm going to take that box and center it. And then I'm going to come over here to the modify panel and say subtract. Subtract. With both of those things selected, check that out. So with everything selected, not everything, just this box and these lines, I'm going to say subtract. So what do I have left? Perfectly written lines that people can write on. I love it. So I can also grab everything again and say group. Oh, I need to tell you something that's very, very important. Let's now pretend like we're going to print this. Let's go to File and Print. And you're going to see a preview of what's going to print. Okay, that's totally messed up, right? So I have to cancel that. There's two reasons why this is messed up. The whole picture isn't there, and you don't see the lines. So let's cancel that. What we have to do to make lines print in this program is you have to make sure that there's a point size to the lines or there's a thickness to it. If you look right up here, right now the point size or the thickness is 0. I've got to make that be something in order for that to print. So now if we go to File and Print, you're going to see the lines will show up, but it's still cockeyed. It's still not working right. So I'm going to cancel that again. So what I need to do now is go to File, Print Page Setup, because remember I'm using 11 by 17. So I have to change the size to 11 by 17, whatever size paper you're using, and say OK. And now if we say File and Print, look at this preview, it's going to be perfect. So if I was to print this, all I would do is say Print, and on mine I would change my preferences. I have it selected to the paper source where my large size paper is. I have it set on the document size as 11 by 17. I want to change the quality to high. I want it to be a really nice print, and I would just say Print. So that's all there is to it. I hope you enjoyed seeing how you can use Silhouette software, the free version, which I have linked down below for you, with just your printer. If you do want to start using it with your Cricut machine or your Silhouette, please use the link down below to buy the other versions that you might want to get, because there are so many more options of things that you can do with this program. So thanks for joining me. Hey, if you like my video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe, and let's make some mugs next time. I'll have the link for this one for you up above. Thanks. Bye.